Okay, welcome back, students. Now we'll continue with the other two. The students, we were looking the data related to Amazon Web Services. Can try to put your points.
Sir, can I share the screen? Like I
Yes,
have
well,
prepared some.
appreciate that.
Yes.
Go ahead and share the screen. I will
So I
stop.
need permission to
Yes, I will.
share the screen.
I will give the permission. Now I have made you as a host, so you can
Yes, sir.
share your screen.
So is it visible?
It is loading. It's loading.
No, sir.
Yeah, it is just still loading. Let us wait for a few seconds. I think Chetan, you need to try it once again.
So actually my system got hanged while I was sharing the screen. Maybe I
Okay.
have to wait.
Yeah. Still it says it is loading. Let's see. Anybody else? You're able to see
Yes,
Chetan's
sir.
system?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Okay.
Still loading.
So actually I was doing work on Unity like an hour ago.
Okay.
And I forgot to shut it down. So
Okay.
maybe it is
So is
taking
there
a
a
lot.
possibility that you can okay, I think now it is visible, right?
So the notepad is visible, right?
It's visible
Even
now.
those
Yeah.
Yes,
stick
yes.
notes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, appreciate it.
So
Collected the data here. Fine.
yes, sir. Shall I start?
Sure.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So the basic idea about AWS is suppose we are starting a business. It is a startup. So we have to first if the application is ready, if we are preparing an app for some business. So first point is if the app is ready. After the app is ready, we invest money to buy the servers in some certain places. So what happens after buying servers? We leave it like that. We just leave it on the users to use the servers and like work upon the app if they want to. And what happens? Suppose overnight the app goes viral. Okay. Suppose the users exceed like users the downloads get a lot of attention and users download the app a lot and the app goes viral overnight. So what happens here the server gets overburdened and the traffic is like a lot in the app. So maybe the uh, chances are a lot of the application getting what do you say stuck or something, or the servers might get busy
Crash.
and crash, and we cannot be able to use the application at the moment while the servers are crashed. So at that moment, what the builder can do, he can buy more servers. By the means buying more servers, he should buy more means the machines where the servers are working, and then the higher maintenance charges might increase for this. So these were the problems before cloud computing. Okay. So
Yes.
these were the
Correct.
problems before the cloud computing. What all the problems caused by the companies before the computing concept came up. So now comes in the scene AWS. So AWS says to the companies that use my buyer servers. Okay, you can use my servers. You can take them as rent. Okay, and what you have to do, you can use the servers and you can pay for whatever time you have used. Suppose for 5 hours or 6 hours, whatever time you have used, and you can pay me that much money. So what happens here, the maintenance is done by AWS itself, and just the server storage is being paid by the company. The maintenance is, of course, the maintenance done by the AWS itself. So also AWS can be called as God for the new business or the startup businesses.
Yes,
You can
correct. That
say
is
as well.
exactly.
Yeah.
So here the few
So
points what Chetan is trying to tell us is that the problems what were there in the in-house architecture for starting up a business. And if we follow with those particular in-house infrastructure, then we may end up with certain problems like whatever is mentioned over there. So in order to avoid these all problems and issues faced by the startup companies, see why we more focus upon the startup companies is because the budget or the money what they have would be definitely less compared to the big companies, right? So they may not be having a big amount of money, and if they end up in a problems or issues which they cannot recover, right, then there will be a loss for them. So in order to avoid that one, instead of going into all these problems, what AWS was thought, this is something at the time frame of 2010, right? In the year 2010, these many problems were there by the startup, faced by the startup companies. And AWS, they thought that, okay, why can't we come up with the solutions which would be more feasible for the end users to start the new businesses? Let us take care of all the hosting the infrastructures, preparing the systems, and we will just give them access to those all services, and they can just pay whatever they use it for. So it's like in a business concept, we call it to be a win-win situation or win-win condition. So there are two parties, one is the user, other one is the vendor. For both of them, it is a win. Both will have a good turnover in with respect to their business or with respect to the money what they earn, right? So in that, AWS had got different types of services. Okay, Chetan, can you just explain about more services, different types of services what AWS has come up with?
Yes, services are like mainly based on content delivery and those kind of stuff.
Yeah, the point which they mentioned that there is one word, EC2. Did you find that?
EC2.
Yeah, EC2 is, can anyone tell me what is EC2 there? It is Elastic Compute Cloud. EC2 means it is ECC basically. So it is Elastic Cloud Compute. You know what is the meaning of EC2? It is one type of a service provided by the AWS. And in this particular service, if a user uses it, then they get a more or a extra CPUs cycles. Like suppose for the computation purpose, a developer is in need of additional computing resources. Extra CPU cycles are required, right? So such or the, you can say, type of a virtual machines for those particular CPUs, then it can be made utilized or it can be made available in real time to the end users through the one type of a service by the AWS, which we call it to be a EC2, very well-known service by them, which is mainly used by the developers, where they get a virtual, different types of the virtual machines and the additional CPUs. Okay, and then they can execute or they can write the develop the softwares and try to debug the softwares. This was actually somewhere in 2005-6 time frame, I think. During that time, it was introduced early in the 2010 decade. It was introduced. Fine, very good, Chetan. Anything else from Amazon team you want to put up, or any other points you want to highlight, Chetan, here?
It's like there are some other points.
Yes.
Actually there is a global infrastructure behind the AWS servers. So what happens, there are many servers around the globe. There are like distributed around the globe. There are 18 geographical servers and 50 availability servers. And in these 50 availability servers, there are some stay centers where like some local centers are there, which take care of the servers and some sort of things like that. And what happens here, this global infrastructure carries out advantages for the business or the stuff which are using the servers. So what happens, there is a term called disaster recovery. So here what happens, for web servers, there are a lot of web servers around the globe, as I just mentioned. So suppose you are working on an application and the application is using a web server, a particular one web server, and suppose the application gets crashed. So there is a big problem that you might lose your data or something very important.
Yes.
So what happens here? The disaster recovery is taken place. So the another server which is similar to the previous server which was crashed, it comes to the it comes to the scene and it helps you to recover the things. Not actually recover, but it just slides in without any what do you say? Without any notification or something like that.
Yes, exactly. Correct.
You don't even know that the server is crashed and the new server is going to be placed.
Yes. So disaster recovery is one of the best feature of Amazon Web Services. They have a lot of data centers where they have a mechanism of storing the data, redundancy of a data, we can call it to be like they have one particular main end server. A copy of that will be in a real time, it will be saved onto another server data center. As a part of a disaster recovery, suppose if something happens, like if there is a cyclone and all, and that particular data center doesn't get a proper internet electricity. If there is no electricity means what? The server may not run. And if it happens so, then the other copy of the data would be stored in another server, another data center, and that will pick up and continue providing the services to the end users. So end users will not feel that, okay, there is some problem in the data center, which is causing the problem for them. They never feel any problems which happen from the disasters. This is one of the advantage, the big advantage of having a AWS.
Yes.
Okay.
So should I go ahead a little bit?
Yeah, I think this should be enough from your side, Chetan. Okay.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good. Yeah.
So also these companies are using the AWS. The 5 companies are listed.
Yeah. Correct. Netflix, Amazon,
Kellogg's, Netflix, Adobe, Amazon, and Airnet.
Correct. There are many more other companies who are relying on the AWS. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Can anyone else from your team, anybody wants to add upon few more terms? Did you find?
Sir, there were some few more points like the tools used for developers like Cloud9. It is an IDE which can be used to build, run codes. And the very important thing is they are also in artificial intelligence. Like they have tools like Lex, which allows you to create chatbots for customer reviews and to help the customers. And Poly, which they use in Amazon to convert text to speech. And they also have Alexa, which they use for businesses.
Correct. Yes. Very good.
And they are coming up with augmented reality, which is known as virtual reality, named as Sumerian.
Yes. Anybody else apart from this?
So,
did you come across with any other? Yes, go ahead.
So I want to add on with one other point of Amazon Cloud Directory. With Amazon Cloud Directory, we can create directories for a variety of use cases. It might be like organizing charts or course catalogs or device registries. For example, here when I look up with, for example, so when we create an organizational chart, it can have separate hierarchies for reporting structures, locations, and cost centers.
Yes, we call it to be, in other terms, we call it to be a type of an active directory, which stores a hierarchical information, right? Now, the service what she spoken about related to the Amazon, similar service is also available in Microsoft, which is very, very popular. We call it to be a Microsoft Active Directory, which houses all the data related to an organization. Suppose if we think of an organization, then there would be a managing director, the director of that one. Below that, there would be some employees. Below to that, some employees. A kind of a tree structure, hierarchical structure of employees. And everybody's data would be housed. Like the data could be the name of the employee, the designation of the employee, the email ID, which business they are interacted to. So end-to-end information would be mapped over there. They can even real time see the information like who are subordinates to them and who are superior to them, and they can get connected or get communication between any of the employees, right? This is another type of a service hosted by the Amazon, and this came into picture later after the Microsoft Active Directory began, and then Amazon thought that we can also do a certain sort of that, and then they started implementing that. Yes, very good. Okay, now did you guys... Yes, go ahead.
There is another point of Cloud Directory. It is also integrating with AWS CloudTrail and tagging.
Can you elaborate more on that?
Yes, sir. So just give me a second.
Sure.
So with CloudTrail, we can log continuously, monitor the things, and even retain account activity. Yes. And even we can have, you can log the date, time, and identity of users who can access the directory data.
Isn't it something similar to a type of some sort of services or the functionalities related to IoT?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay, good. Now, let's see. The team Amazon, did you come across with something called as a S3 while collecting the information?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Amazon Simple Storage Service.
Yeah, very popular service from the Amazon. Simple Storage Service. Amazon
store and
S3
retrieve
means
data from the cloud.
Yes. So it is like a repository, data repository service, which was hosted by the Amazon, wherein you can treat that particular service as your hard disk in simple terms. You can treat it as a hard disk. So if you want to store some data over there, you can just put it over there and data would be reliable on that particular server itself. Right? It the great feature of that particular S3 is you can store a file and the size of that file can be of 5 TB. Okay, think how big it is, how big we can store the data in that particular Amazon simple storage services. Okay, and they do have something called as a database related services also, like how the Microsoft have Microsoft SQL services. The Amazon do have their own database services, right? There they provide the a kind of a structured queries can be executed, which will give a better interaction between the client and server architectures. Okay. These are the few great points you have talked about the Amazon. Yes, very good. Shall we move on to the next one? Google.
So can I stop the screen?
Yes, you can stop the screen. If there are any points from the Amazon team, if you want to share, you can share. Otherwise, we will move on to the next team.
So almost it is explained.
Done. Okay. From Google team, who can start? Who will begin? Manisha, will you begin? Anyone from Google, team Google?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Anybody wants to share your screen? Or is it okay? You will explain it without sharing the screen? Please start.
So I would like to give some first basic information about Google App Engine, sir.
Okay.
So basically, Google App Engine is a platform for developing the application where we will hosting the application on the servers, and it can be run across through multiple servers, sir. And it's a fully managed means there are in Google App Engine, so there are lots of languages like Python, Java, and Node. And so basically because of this certain collection of languages, we can develop the application. And so coming to the like services which are the provided by App Engine is PaaS, platform as a service. it is for building and deploying the applications. And so coming, if you have to come through the Google App Engine's benefits, first of all, it's all time gives you the availability, and it ensure the fast time. Means it's not like a limited zone to your limited restrictions for that. It's available on how much, means whenever you want or something, and so basically it's easy to use that platform. So.
Yes, good. You just covered up the entire things.
Yes.
Related to any specific services, anybody wants to speak? Karuna, did you find out some data, some information related to Google App Engine?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, then explain. Put up your points.
The best thing about Google App Engine is its ability to manage the built applications in Google's data centers.
Okay, good. Can anyone give the some examples, some examples or as a software as a service, which are part of Google? Okay, let me put few more points related to
Google
the.
Drive.
Yes, Karuna.
So Google Drive.
Google Drive. Yes. Okay. Oh, fine. Anybody else wants to? Anybody? It need not to be a respect to team members. Anyone wants to put some points on the Google Cloud Services? Okay. Let me have some points here. Okay. Now, let us try to think as from the when it has began and what type of the services they started. Okay. Google, initially the Google had started providing certain cloud services as app engines. Okay. So the intention of having the app engine was to give a platform as a services to the developers. Okay, you guys know, right? Google is a open source, right? We can have a code written in an open source and put it into a we can develop the applications from that. So what Google was thought was, so let us have an open source environment where we will have a platform as a services, okay, which can be made use by the developers, and then in turn let them develop the applications. Okay. Using those particular applications, they can host on their services, and those applications can be given as a software as a services to the other users. It is like take the work from the users only and get the data, get certain softwares developed, and then put it onto their services. And those services or the softwares in turn again will be used by the people, right? So they started with something like a development environment for the online documents and online Excel sheets, or they called it to be a spreadsheet. Basically, Excel was a popular name as part of a Microsoft, so the Google called it to be an online document, okay, which was the replacement for Microsoft Word, and the online spreadsheet, which was the replacement for Microsoft Excel sheet. So they just started developing those particular applications, and they allowed the employers or the developers to add certain features to those softwares. Those basically initially they started with those two, but later they just expanded their business not only for the platform as a service, but rather software as a service as well as infrastructure as a service. But in the initial days, the Google App Engine was, the name App Engine came into picture because they started the cloud services only for the platform as a services, okay, which was intended to develop certain softwares. In turn, those softwares can be given to the end users as a software as a services. Later, you can, one of the example you guys said, the Google Drive, wherein storage as a service is achieved over there. The users of Google can store their data for I think now it is 15 GB, right? A free space of a 15 GB for any user can be granted. And if they want to go for a higher storage, then they have to pay for that particular amount. Nobody else in the current market provide a free storage services apart from the Google, the most reliable from the Google. Okay. Any other points? Any other examples you want to give for Google Cloud Services? Guys, have you ever used the Google Documents? Google Document, Google Spreadsheet?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Right. So they do have the Google Spreadsheet. It has the similar features as of the Microsoft Excel, but here and there few functionalities vary there. They fail to provide all the functionalities what a Microsoft provides. At most, they give around 90 to 95% of the functionalities what an Excel offers. But comparatively, it is little easy to work in an Excel, that is Microsoft Excel, rather than on the Google's spreadsheet.
So could Google Meet be one of them?
Google Meet is also one of them. This is also an application, right? It is an application that is a software as a service. Our Gmail is a software as a service, right? They do provide a software for us. Yes, that is also a good example. Okay, I think we covered up most of the points here, what I was thinking of, but in the upcoming slides here, I have put upon certain concepts here, which are taken from your textbooks. Means the things which we have, the main intention point for me to have a discussion here is that I just wanted you to know the where these companies stand nowadays at current time, where do they stand? But if you just try to think of just 10 years ago or 15 years ago, what they were offering as a cloud computing services. Okay, so in your textbook, we have a preliminary data or the primitive type of services which have been offered by these companies. Okay, the same points I have just tried to put it over here. Okay, these are self-explanatory. The things we have discussed here, the same thing I have put in here. If you just put just study this, look into the third point. Amazon's virtual machines are versions of Linux distributions. Meaning is that the initial days when the Amazon started their cloud infrastructures and they started putting up their hardware and the operating systems. And most of their operating systems were based upon the Linux OSs. Because Linux was a freeware, right? It is an open source. They did not go with an Microsoft. If they had gone to the Microsoft, then they had to take a huge number of licenses, and for which they need to again in turn pay certain money to them. So instead of that, they went to a Linux distributions, and then they started the virtual machines, hosting the virtual machines on top of the Linux. And then the history began with respect to the Amazon. Okay. Then few more points here are the simple, some examples. The queue service, the simple queue services, Elastic Compute Cloud, that is EC2, and then the S3, right? And the SimpleDB, the database related. Okay, I will give you the details, the soft copy of all these things as a part of our notes. You can go and study those points. But if you look into the points, all these points we have discussed as part of our discussion here. The Googles. So in the initial days, they were offering the documents and the spreadsheet and the Microsoft. So these are the few services offered by the Microsoft. Azure, SQL services, .NET services. .NET services are like if someone, developer wants to develop a .NET framework applications, right? That can also be achieved by accessing the web services of that. So related to the .NET web services and the live services. Live services are all these examples where the real-time synchronization happens with respect to all different types of documents across the different types of computing devices. And this CRM was the for Microsoft, is SharePoint and the CRM are the kind of a you say how shall I tell it, money earning softwares or money earning services. A lot of customers demanded and they were using, and even we in the sense our college, we do have a SharePoint services which have been taken rented from the Microsoft. We do use the SharePoints as a collaborative. We put the data over there. Okay, nowadays the entire softwares of Microsoft's, okay, all those softwares are available in a hard format, that is as a softwares which we can install directly, or we can go on a cloud services also. Even the Microsoft Teams. Okay, nowadays I'm using Microsoft Teams to conduct the classes for the other semester students, right? Wherein I need to have I have more than 100 participants, which I cannot accommodate in the Zoom. So I'm using a paid version of a Microsoft, for which I require a licensing. This is been procured by our college, and they allow type of SharePoint services. So if I create a particular channel in that one, so in that particular channel, I can host all the meetings, and the data will be available in that particular web server itself. All the recordings will get stored onto the web itself. Even something happens to my machine, then no need to worry. The recorded videos will be available on their services itself. The communication, whatever happens, it will be available on that particular service. If I want to use my mobile device, and on mobile device, I have the app related to those Microsoft Teams and the Microsoft OneDrive. I can access the data across or between two different softwares or two different applications of the Microsoft, where they provide a type of SharePoint services and the CRM, that is customer relationship management applications. We will study more on this SharePoint and CRM in the upcoming units. Okay, that's it, students. I appreciate you all for taking interest in the student activities.